Now, lastly, what we can say that in India, based on these exercises, I can just give you as an illustration the three important case studies. One, broadly it is the human development, as I have already explained in my earlier discussion, is that the government focus is on human development. Now, when you talk about human development, generally, these are the three dimensions: the education dimension, the health dimension, and the livelihood dimension. And thanks to Mahbubul Haq, Amartya Sen, and lot of other philosophers, even Muhammad Yunus played a very, very positive role in really focusing on some of these issues. Now, it is in this context, I think you have heard a program called Rural Employment Program. Today it is called Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. So which means that it is a program for developing the assets, the infrastructures, for creating watershed development. So it is a wage based program. So for this you need a proper planning. I'm not going into those details. What I suggest that you browse this website. It is the Ministry of Rural Development website. There you can have all these issues that I discussed, how the plans are formulated from the village level, then block level, then district level. You see all these hierarchical systems are there. What are the important issues? How the Gram Sabha, means the village assembly, has to identify the issues, then village panchayat, then it goes to block, and that whole process has been done. Interestingly and very importantly, let me repeat very significantly, the now Manrega is an act, which means it is an entitlement. It is a legal entitlement of the poor people. And legal entitle means any person, there are certain legal processes, you will get all the details. If I say I'm unemployed and I don't have any money, so it is the responsibility of the government to provide me two things. Either provide me gainful employment of a particular time period, say 60 days or 100 days within 1 year, or provide me the unemployment allowance. Now, this is one of the biggest, I think, initiative taken within the government system, so that we can protect the poor people, we can protect the hunger. It's very interesting that the Amartya Sen, who really studied the famine, has suggested these kind of innovative things focusing on livelihood. But your rural employment guarantee programs will only be successful if you prepare, if you ask me, if you prepare a macro plan in a very systematic and thoughtful manner. And these programs are new program. These are, the name is new, although the program long back was known as rural employment programs, and in earlier it was known as food for work program, Jawahar Rojgar Yojana within Indian context, but now it is called National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Now it is not the program, it is act. Okay, so this is about the livelihood, one dimension of human development. Now take example of health. Now health is very important. Again, in that context, it was again started in when we entered into 2000, in the starting phase, on the basis of the successful results which we have got from the livelihood and health sector. This was initiated on the livelihood and education sector. This was initiated in the health sector. Initially there were two programs, National Rural Health Mission, and the other one is that National Urban Health Mission. But now in 2005, again it was clubbed into National Health Mission. Now again, this National Health Mission is a decentralized participatory planning process focusing on health issues. And even the whole chapterization process should be like this, as I was just mentioning. So it is mainly focusing on health, but health in itself is not sufficient. I want to be healthy, but for health, I need food security. And not only I want to be healthy, I want to get a better productive income and employment, but I also need education. So when you talk about education, this is the third dimension. The government, I think, on education, education is a quite crisis in any system. Suppose I'm a sick person, anyone can identify me, immediate emergency doctors will be called, and somehow my health is going to be restated. Now, interestingly, but education is a quite crisis. You don't know the overall impact of non-education, non-educated system. So the point is that in the education sector, the whole decentralized approach was initiated long back. I can give you one example, especially focusing on India. In Bihar, there was Bihar Education Project. In Uttar Pradesh, there was a UP Basic Education Programs. These programs were mainly focusing on micro-planning approach. Bihar Education Project is famous for its micro-planning approach. There are a lot of interesting experiments which are being carried out in Rajasthan, which are focusing on micro-planning approach. There are very unique initiatives which are taken in Andhra Pradesh, basically focusing on the capability approach. Now, the programs were basically initiated in 1995 and then later on clubbed under the district primary education program, because elementary education, within elementary primary education is the critical element. And that's why, all and the compulsory mandatory condition of the education planning was to prepare plans at the grassroots level, from village to block to district level. And this has been done. And later on, the world's biggest social sector program, all these small programs are merged into this program. It is called SSA. It is called Sarva, Shiksha, Abhiyan. You might have heard. You better go to MHRD site and you will get plenty of material in that. So Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan is the biggest social sector program focusing on elementary education, and again focusing on the entitlement and on planning. On the basis of success of Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, the focus was later on shifted at the secondary level. This is called RMSA, Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan. It is focusing on secondary education. And uniquely, very recently, there is a new program which is known as Rashtriya Uchchatar Shiksha Abhiyan in the last 3 or 4 years. Interestingly, the methodology of SSA, RMSA and RUSA are the same. Preparing a plan at the district level. Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, a particular district. Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan, a particular district. Now, interestingly, RUSA, university is not a district thing, but it is the university catchment area. So it is, the planning is done at the university level. However, at present, it would be very difficult to really implement those things. But what I am suggesting is that in case if you involve yourself, if you indulge yourself, especially while conducting the research activities, if you involve yourself in this process, then things will go on. Again, so what I have done, I have given you very briefly, in case if you are motivated, if you think, yes, there is something in it, it is better if you browse some of those sites. There are manuals, there are literature, comprehensive studies which are published in the reputed journals. Remember, now the economics has come out from the watertight compartment of very simple things. It has been widespread within the education, health, and other interdisciplinary aspects. So it is better if you focus on these areas in case if you are interested and try to do something new. Now, you see the impact of all these things. Take again, I'm giving you the example of education. There is a right to free and compulsory act. The Indian constitution is again amended, and education, especially elementary education, has been made a fundamental right, 21A article. Now, if it has been made a fundamental right, then it is your responsibility, it is my responsibility for universal and compulsory and free. The education must be free and compulsory, joyful education. That itself is a big, big ocean of knowledge. There are community organizations. When you talk about micro planning, you have to ensure participation. There is a school management committee which is there in this RTE, Right to Free and Compulsory Elementary Education Act of 2009. And accordingly, there are a lot of issues. If you read carefully what is happening in the Indian Parliament, how things are, the different ministers are working, education minister, health minister, and rural development minister, how these things are working, you will find that these issues are being carried out. So friends, what I have done, what we have done till now, that we have analyzed in a very sequential and simple sense in this section different steps, stages of micro planning. Then we have, by giving the example, we have analyzed, like in India, which is the unique label, spatial label, district, block, village. Now, we have discussed it. And then we have discussed the Atma, the soul of micro planning is the participatory processes which lead to empowerment. Because if you empower the villagers, nothing like that, they can do wonders. So that is important. Then we talked about that when we talk about this whole integrated area development plan, then we have to ensure various parameters which ensures the quality of the plan. We discussed about specific as an illustration, different chapterization. You think about in your own way and you can rechange the sequence. Then we discussed, okay, you could have said that, okay, we have explained a lot of things, but how these things are visible at the grassroots level? I will simply say, see, go to any village, see how Narega is working. Go to any block level, talk to block development officer and see how the Narega is working, how the National Rural Health Mission, now it is called National Health Mission, is working, how the Shiksha Abhiyan is working. Go and meet any principal of a secondary school, or go and meet the principal of a primary school. Go and meet the Panchayati Raj people, the local self-government. They will tell you some of the realities. So friends, it is just beginning. It is just beginning. If you see the time series, all these three programs are not before 15 years back. So they have started almost 15 years back. And now gradually, in the new changing world, in the sustainable development goal, if you link all these things, you will find that, oh, okay, the sustainable development goals are there, which are nothing but reflecting, and Government of India is one of the signatory. If you see any site, Prime Minister's site or the Niti Aayog site, you will find the sustainable development goals, and all these goals are there. So, which means that now the whole issue of micro planning is very important. And ultimately I say that I am very hopeful that many of you would involve yourself in identifying the criticalities which are associated in these programs at the grassroots level. The way forward that I can give you, you identify a few areas which are concerned with human development. You review some of these studies in some of the reputed journals. On the basis of that, you select some of the area, or you can do research, or even a group of students. You remember what Muhammad Yunus did? Muhammad Yunus, while teaching in Dhaka University, he was more upset by the famine which was prevalent at that time in 1980 around in Bangladesh. Then what he did, he simply asked a few of his students to go along with him to the adjoining villages. And remember, this one small initiative converted into a big movement of Bangladesh Grameen Bank, which ultimately resulted into giving a Nobel Peace Prize for a very learned teacher of economics. So if you want, don't worry about, select a few villages, conduct a small case study, come out with the ideas, and thanks to ICT revolution, all the informations are available, through ICT. Use the ICT, use your library, ask your teachers, and in case if you have any problem, you are most welcome to interact with us. And I hope you enjoyed all these 3 modules in a sequence, and I wish all of you who are hearing this, who are watching this, must convert this learning input into your action, and so that you can conduct a beautiful research studies on human development dimensions concerned with various facets of life, focusing on micro planning and participatory development. I wish you all the best. Thank you.